So how do you stop gun violence? Now, I may get criticism for some of the things I say in this video, but frankly, I don't care. The time for silence is over. Hi, this is the business guy. He survived Columbine 23 years ago. Thousands more students in the US have experienced gun violence since that day in 1999, when Craig Nason escaped with his life. They deserve better. In April 1999, he survived the Columbine shooting. At just 17 years old, he was forced to process the murder of his friends, the trauma of his community, and the unique attention the world has paid to his experience. At that time, Columbine was considered a once-in-a-generation type of tragedy, one that few other people in our community would ever have to contend with, if only that were true. In 2018, I personally got a call from my wife who was stuck in traffic in front of Parkland High School, just a short walk from where I lived at the time in Parkland, Florida. 17 people, including students and one teacher, had just been murdered as she saw the high school children streaming out of the school. Police cars, frantic parents driving over curbs and down sidewalks to rescue their endangered children. The phrase mass shooting, most often defined as 4 or more firearm deaths in one incident, was barely part of our vocabularies 23 years ago. When my friend's children hid with dozens of classmates in a closet of a history class in Parkland High School, I would never have dreamed their nightmare would become America's new normal. But now, mass gun violence in the United States happens with breathtaking frequency. And while politicians love to act like this is an impossible polarizing issue, perhaps we're not as divided as we think. The majority of Americans actually believe Congress should pass more extensive gun legislation. According to a 2015 public policy polling survey, 83% of gun owners, like myself, support expanded background checks. In a nation where an estimated 4.6 million children live in a home with at least one gun that's loaded and unlocked, secure storage requirements would be a game changer. Let's promote and advocate for these consensus positions and save lives together. It's not time to throw up our hands and say nothing can be done. Something can and must be done. What are you going to do about it? You want to mentor a troubled child? You want to teach gun safety classes? You want to call up your politicians and suggest the proper action? This is not somebody else's problem. If you have half a heart, it's your problem and my problem. So let's get together and do something about it. By the way, one I'd really appreciate if you could please click the like button so YouTube promotes this video. You can also click subscribe below if you haven't already, so that when more videos come out like this one, you'll be up to date right away. Now, according to the organization Everytown for Gun Safety, the U.S. has experienced 274 mass shootings since 2009 alone. Thousands of survivors are now part of a club that nobody wants to join. Many are plagued with anxiety that they or loved ones will become part of the next. As the father of 2 kids, the eldest of whom just became a psychotherapist, and one former U.S. Marine, I shared those concerns. Why assume it won't happen to me when guns are now the #1 killer of children and adolescents in the United States? I think about how we vowed to never forget Columbine, how we would make sure the next generation would be safer. The opposite has happened. Virginia Tech, Santa Clarita, another place where I lived for 20 years, had a shooting tragedy at Saugus High School. And there's Aurora, Newtown, Orlando, Las Vegas, Parkland, El Paso, Buffalo, Uvalde. It's a burden too heavy. In fact, you likely have memories associated with some of these shootings. What were you doing when you heard? In fact, we had a dear friend at the concert in Las Vegas where the man with a semi-automatic weapon was shooting at the crowd. Our dear friend asked, "Are we being shot at?" And a policeman nearby said, "No, I'm a policeman. That's just a helicopter or fireworks." "Then why are those people laying on the ground bleeding?" she asked, as they ran as fast as they could. When the headlines break, victims often hear from friends, family, and colleagues. "I'm so sorry you have to relive this again." The truth is, we are all reliving it again on some level. The steady cadence of shock, grief, and pain is their collective story. This is America. According to one recent study, 71% of us view gun violence as a major issue facing the country, and 45% believe it is at a crisis level. Nearly half of our nation today is in a posture of crisis response. So now that the thoughts and prayers have been shared, what can we do together? First, politicize it. Yes, politicize it. Politicians love to tell us not to politicize these tragedies following mass shootings. But that statement itself is a political demand, one that protects the status quo. We should expect political solutions from our leaders immediately. We should demand that evidence-based policies are to be heard. We should march for our lives. Not getting political on mass gun violence only risks more of the same. Ask any parent who lost a child to gun violence a simple question. Would you care if another tragedy was politicized, if it meant getting your son or daughter back? Of course not. Grief doesn't have political affiliation. Survivors, like my friend's children at Parkland and Saugus, are interested in the possibility of politics, or more accurately, policy, to change the narrative. So let's make it our expectation. In a country where more than 110 people reportedly die of gun violence every day, it's time to contact elected officials. Ask them what they're doing to prevent and end gun violence in your community, and demand answers. Then change the culture. It's impossible to ignore the role that extremism plays in so many mass gun violence events. In mass shootings, the shooter has exhibited dangerous warning signs before the shooting. These known risk factors for shooters have found plenty of space to take root and flourish in our democracy. It's a reality we must acknowledge and then challenge. So how do we do it? Dismantling complex systems, bullying, and mental health issues is long-term work. But we all have a role to play right now. Seek out successful violence prevention programs in your city and volunteer. Look for established leaders who are setting the pace and ask how you can get involved. Consider supporting youth programs that mentor boys or young men in under-resourced communities. Donate to community-led organizations that are leading the charge on those parallel issues. Because it is about the guns too, not just mental health. It's both. The United States has roughly 5% of the world's population and over 30% of the world's mass shootings. We are the only country in the world with more civilian-owned firearms than people. The data make it clear our long-time love affair with firearms plays a leading role in our gun violence epidemic. It's okay to have guns, but we need to have safer parameters. We've largely ignored the factor, and it has only perpetuated the problem. A new generation has grown up since Columbine. 310,000 more students in the U.S. have experienced gun violence since that day in 1999 when Craig Nason escaped with his life. They deserve better, but it's not too late to change the story for the next generation. No American should have to experience the trauma these children went through. This time can be different, but it takes participation from all of us. Will we as a society be complicit, or will we finally say, enough death? It's time for action now. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. This is The Business Guy.